Morning everybody, today I'm going to show you how I tackle painting a snow-capped peak and a moody sky in watercolour. So if you'd like to get some wisdom on how to paint that, keep watching. Morning Pottering Artists, it's Alison Fennell here, your tutor. Welcome to my regular viewers, and if you'd like to join us, please click the little red square in the bottom right hand corner of the screen. Then you'll be prompted to click a grey bell. Do that and then make sure that your mobile or device can receive YouTube alerts. Then you'll get my videos as they come up. Today we're going to look at this fantastic scene. This is going to feature in my new landscape course, which will be coming out early winter time. It's a landscape course that features painting panoramas in a poetic way, with a lot of atmosphere and a lot of mood, instead of painting things in a realistic way. So today I'm going to look at one small feature, which is how to get the effect of snow on a craggy peak and a moody sky behind. So I'll be showing you basic ways to approach it, the sort of sequence, and some tips on how to achieve that poetic look. I'm painting on a 100% cotton rag watercolour block. The paper is cold pressed, also known as knot, so it's got a little bit of tooth to it, which will help me get the effect of those craggy sort of rocks and the snow that's stuck in between them. The way I'm going to approach this is to get all the soft areas done first and all the palest areas done first, and then I'll be going darker and more detailed and more harder edged. This is normally the way to proceed in watercolour. Start off with light colours and start off with softness, and then you can build hardness and darker colours as you progress through the painting. The colours I'm going to use are Daniel Smith colours, the extra fine watercolours by Daniel Smith. First colour is mangenese blue hue, then lunar blue, and then moonglow. So to start, I want to get the sky wet so that I can paint in this lovely soft sky. I'm going to have to hand some dry tissue because I'll be pressing in and lifting out some colour. So to make this easier on myself, and I suggest you do it as well, tip the board upside down and just wet the whole sky area. So wetting the sky area, be very careful as you go on the outline of the mountain. You don't want to cut into that, we want a sharp edge on the mountain there. So continue wetting your sky. Okay, so as you can see, the sky is wet all over now, and I've kept the outline of my mountain range apart from here where it starts to go off the page, because I want it to be softer there and to blend in with the landscape a bit. Same with this side. I've painted over the ridge of that mountain, as you can see, and gone on to the mountain itself, because I want there to be a soft transition there. So I'm leaving a margin where the paint can end softly without ending abruptly. So this state is now just moist. It's not too runny and it's perfect for dropping in some colour. So I'm going to pick up some moonglow first, and a speck of lunar blue, and that's a pigmented wash. I'm going to drop this in, cutting in carefully around the outline of that peak, and then tip it and let it flow, and I'm going to put a soft edge there in the corner so that it comes down softly onto the mountain there. Continuing on, let's have some in this area. And again, making a softish blur there in the extreme edge where that painting is going off the edge of the paper. Okay, so we've got some cloudy areas. I'm going to build this up a bit more rounded now while it's all still moist. And a few cloud shapes there. Alright, so what I want to do now is tip the whole thing and let it bleed. Softly away. I'm letting gravity help me there. It's been about 3 minutes. I'm still holding it in this vertical position. As you can see, the paper is still moist. Cotton paper holds the moisture for ages, and this lovely streaky blend now is happening. So you've got to give paper the time it needs to just feather out and do its watercolour magic. And I've not used any brush strokes, I'm just holding it in that vertical position like that. So continue doing that for another 5 minutes until the painting has stopped, until the painting is bone dry. You want to make sure that sheen goes off the paper. So keep it in a vertical position until it's done that. One thing I should say before it does dry out completely, come in with some crisp tissue paper and let's just pull out some clouds with a hard edge in places. So I'm using the paper like that, and let's just press in here and there to get some contrasting hard white edges into this sky. So maybe break some away there. And if you press really hard, that'll stem the flow of the paint. But I don't want to lose all those soft edges we've worked hard to create. I just want some hard and some soft. Maybe that's a little bit too abrupt there, so I'm going to press the tissue in to break up that shape a bit more. So again, I'm going to put it back in my vertical position and then leave that to go bone dry. It's been about an hour now and I've let this go bone dry. Then just to be sure, I gave it a bit of a gentle waft with warm air for about half a minute. And when I test it with my soft part of my thumb, that doesn't feel cool at all. So there's no moisture left in the paper. You've got to be especially careful, especially around the ridges of the mountain now, because if we start painting a wash for the mountain on and there's any moisture left in that sky, the mountain wash is going to bleed into that slightly damp paper. It doesn't look like it's damp to the eye, but believe me, it could be damp in the fibres of the paper, and then you'll get feathering and bleeding. Okay, so always make sure your paper's bone dry. Next job now is to get the whole of this mountain area moist. So I've got a bigger brush. It's a size 10 flat brush, and I'm going to add a lot of water to moisten this whole area, including this passage that was soft and blurry, because I want the mountain colour to now overlap with that blurriness as well. So again, I'm being very careful with my outline and making sure that that water doesn't go over there. So keep on wetting the paper now. As I'm wetting the paper, I'm deciding to leave some areas like that, so say moisten down, and leave a little bit of a dry paper at the bottom so that you get a scraggy vignette effect. My water's got a tiny bit of colour in there as it happens, so you can just about see where my moisture is going on this dry paper at the moment. So I'm making it a bit sort of scratchy like that. See, we've got sort of a cutaway, a broken edged cutaway, a vignette type feel. Into this moist paper, I'm going to pick up some of this manganese blue hue. Add some more water to that with my spray bottle so that I don't lose the pigment in the pot. Okay, so some manganese blue, and that's quite a bright blue, so I'll just add a speck of lunar blue to tone it down a little bit and hopefully give us some interesting granulations. So I'd say this is a pigmented wash bordering on a dilute wash. So let's get this on in places in the mountain. You can already see from your photograph roughly where the snow is. So perhaps sort of avoid the snowy areas so that they'll, or just touch them lightly with this blue so that they'll have a chance to stay quite white. And this sort of flares out like this, sort of this way. So I'm doing my brush strokes to mimic that feeling of this sort of escarpment, if that's the word, I'm not sure. So I've got this patchy application, and again I'm going to take some of this blue and blend it over that area at the corner to get a soft edge, and there. It's gone a little bit hard, so I'm going to get a moist brush. This brush has been wetted and flicked, so there's just a bit of moisture in, and then I can pat that hard edge away. So this edge is lost, you know, we haven't got a hard edge right at the edge of the painting. Now let's just pick this up and let it run. See the moisture in there? So that's going to dry quite soft and pale. So let's let that do its thing. One thing to point out, we're still working with soft and light colours. The sky is soft and light. The mountain is soft and light. We have hardly got any hard edges at all in the painting at this stage, but that will change. So now this mountain is bone dry, and as you can see the blue has dried paler, and we've got soft edged blue intermingled with some unpainted paper. So the white and the blue are there, both of them have got soft edges, they're both soft edged areas. One is unpainted white paper and one is the manganese blue hue. So what we're going to do now is we're going to paint on dry paper and add these dark areas. I'm switching now to a smaller brush. I've got a size 4 round synthetic brush. These are Masterstroke Aquamarine watercolour rounds by Curtis Ward. There's an affiliate link of mine in the description if you want to buy them. Okay, so I'm going to moisten my brush, flick my brush to take away excess moisture, and then let's pick up some Moonglow. Moonglow is actually a composite of 3 colours. It's a Daniel Smith paint. It's got some green, some red and some blue in it. And so when it separates, as you can see in the sky, you know, it gives quite an unusual mixture of colours, which I thought was really lovely for this atmospheric sky. So I'm just going to go roughly following the pattern of where there are darker crags showing through the snow on this mountain. So this is wet on dry paper now. This mix is a little bit too thick, so I'm going to draw in some water. The strength I'll be using on this is a pigmented mix. It's not very runny, but it's not very viscous either. Okay, pigmented mix. Bordering on a pigmented wash, okay? This is it with watercolour. We're working in sort of fine find sort of differences between thicknesses of washes. So this is going to go on I'm just keeping an eye on my image, you know, my photograph, to see where those crags are and where there's bits of white snow showing through. If I just get going, and then I'll turn the camera off so that you can carry on with this on your own now and just do this detail slowly but surely. When you come to a big area like here, you could turn your brush on its side and do this scraggy dragging action. So you're dragging that paint down, and because there's a bit of tooth on the paper, it already, you know, gives us a hit and miss effect. Okay, so now I've got these crags showing through, and on the far left hand edge the mountain is quite dark, isn't it, and it's quite sort of solid. So I'm going to paint that in now and let it bleed in a little bit to some of these purpley crags I've put on this side. And taper that away very finely as I can. And then this needs to bleed away. Now we can dry brush it away like that. And it's very strong there, so I'm adding an extra passage of purple there to really kick that shadow, because where it goes out to the light, that's the darkest area. And then it bleeds away. So again, I'm holding my brush flat like this, and then scragging it away so that we've got a broken edge, so the viewer's eye doesn't shoot out of the painting completely. Okay, so that's how it's looking at this stage. We'll leave that dry completely now. As I squint at this painting, I can see that this is in shadow, and this area here is in shadow, because this plane of the mountain is, you know, protruding, and so it's casting a shadow there, and this part of the mountain is getting some light. Okay, then there's some darkness there. So what we need to do now is put on some shadow in some of the areas. It's bone dry now, and I'm going to pick up some moonglow and add some lunar blue to it. So add a little bit more. I'm just using some of this dilute manganese blue as well, purely really to just dilute this wash down a little bit. So we want quite a strong shadow area now. So just zoom in on this view. So we're going to make a commitment now to go really strong in this area here. And again, I'm going to apply it and then taper it away in places so that it doesn't end up being just a solid mass. I'm holding my brush like this and sort of patting that grey, darker grey down in to the crevices. There's a bit of a darker area in there as well, and there. And so by repeating this dark colour and scattering it throughout the painting, it diminishes the big section of it that we've got here. And this is one of the elements of design, and it's called repetition. Maybe just put in some here and there. This is a strong shadow I really want to push again from the pinnacle of this mountain. Just taper that really finely away. And this time I'm going to get a moist brush, a brush that I've moistened, flicked, and I got a tiny bit of moisture in there. So to just blend that dark purple in and let it bleed softly away. Same again, throughout the painting I'm going to soften some areas. Softening areas with a moist brush like this, just touching into them and just coaxing them, rotating the brush a little bit, and that melts some of that dark colour away into the previous wash. So you're ending up with a hard edge on one side and a soft melted edge on the other side. I'm just going to put a tiny bit of blue there to give us a little bit more of an outline of the mountain. And I'm just wiggling my brush along there to break that edge up. So that's how we're looking at the moment. We're starting now to develop some darker colour, as I mentioned, going from light to dark, so darker colour, and now you're seeing some really hard edges appearing. So if you'd like to learn more about painting landscapes with me, landscapes that have got a bit of poetry to them, a bit more of your own personality going into them, then please sign up to my Pottery and Artist Academy on Teachable. You can enrol now and then I can alert you when the course comes up. As I said, it'll be early winter probably. Now let's finish off with this painting. So I'm going to take now my spray bottle. This paint is still a little bit moist, it hasn't dried completely, and so what I'm going to do is give it a few sprays of water and see if I can encourage some lovely runs like that to come down. Okay, I'm just going to fudge it a bit with my finger and let them lead down. And now what we have got as well are some actual feathers coming out of the top, and I quite like that. It's as if the mist is going up to the top of the painting. So let's get gravity to help us. We've got some nice bleeds coming down into this foreground snow area, and again I'm going to rub that away so that it can bleed in and travel without ending up in a hard blob. And let's just be brave and try now and spray a little bit of water heading towards the top of the mountain. I'm giving it 2 squirts. Yeah, there we go. We've got some action going here now. So this is doing exactly what I wanted. It's bleeding away, feathering away in a controlled way, sort of organic feel. See the moisture on the paper there now? And if you lay that flat, it won't travel any further. But if you want it to travel a bit further, you can just keep on spraying and rub that away with your finger, and it might allow the breakaway of some other dark pigment from the top of the mountain. You can see the shine. So that's what we've got. So that's a way to add a bit of poetry to your mountain, as if it's swathed in mist and as if things are sort of melting there. So let's let it dry and I'll show you some final tips to do on this. Okay, so here we are again. I've let everything dry, and as you can see we've got quite a blurry area now, which I really like, a sort of blurry dissolving feel to the painting in areas, and there's some sharp jagged areas as well. So finally what I'd like to do is to show you how to really push some very strong dark accents now. So again, I'd like to push this cleft between this plane of the peak and this plane and push that shadow there, and this dark ridge that you can see under there, plus a couple of these at the bottom of these crags are quite dark. So I'm going to push those now with stronger paint.